Musical theater storytelling is crucial when it comes to making Disney movies so iconic. I mean, without Alan Menken and Howard Ashman reinventing how music and animation come together to make magic along with the rest of the Little Mermaid team, Disney would have gone bankrupt. But because we're so focused on the songs that we already know and love, we rarely think about what it took to get there. I am going to reveal how 10 iconic Disney songs were completely different, and from my perspective as a professional musical theater performer and songwriter, why I think they got revised and whether or not this was the best choice for the story. I am Calxiyn, and I am here to make you care. Thanks to all the patrons and the YouTube members who let me dive into these niche topics that no one ever talks about, but you will feel smarter for knowing.
You poor unfortunate soul! Go ahead! Make your choice!
Remember, you'll get the legs and the lungs and the prince. All I get is the voice!
For a song to qualify for this list, it couldn't be a song that was just cut. It had to be a song that was a previous iteration of a song we ultimately got in the movie. So a great example to start with is Silence is Golden from The Little Mermaid, which was the precursor to Poor Unfortunate Souls. When you listen to the song, you can hear a similar, ominous piano chord to what Poor Unfortunate Souls ultimately has, but this song is much more tango sounding. If part of your world is jokingly referred to as somewhere that's wet in reference to somewhere that's green from Little Shop of Horrors, Silence is Golden is Sea Witch and Nice to me. Like, it reminds me a lot of Mushnik and Son. So why didn't Silence is Golden survive? If we talked about everything that was genius in Poor Unfortunate Souls, we would be here all day, which is why I made a whole video essay about it. But something important that the creative team talks about is the 3-act seduction: the invitation, the seduction, and the spell. Poor Unfortunate Souls has these clear building blocks, with verse 1 telling us her backstory, verse 2 telling us about her magic and how she helps people, and then the chorus telling us who she helps, those poor unfortunate souls. But by contrast, Silence is Golden jumps straight into the price that Ariel has to pay. This approach becomes a problem when you consider, as the creative teams did, that the audience will lose sympathy for Ariel if she seems stupid for making a deal with Ursula, and Ursula does not attempt in this song to lull her into that false sense of security. She is way too obviously pushy and villainous. In the Disney Villain Bible, they explain the importance of making sure that Ursula comes off as the perfect saleswoman who is able to soothe, cajole, and present her ultimatum as a solution to all your problems. Not only do you have to believe that Ariel would believe Ursula, but you need to believe that if you were in Ariel's situation, that you'd take the deal too. Though there are a few lyrics here that I think are funny, most of the lyrics are a little forgettable as well. Like, they are blunt and strangely focus a lot on the anatomy of how Ariel will change, and it lacks the clever wordplay and really iconic character voice that Howard Ashman was known for. And Howard Ashman actually did not like this song, and right after he wrote it, he threw it out. Despite that, you can see how some of the character traits and the sentiment of some of the lyrics did make it in. For all my artists out there, I hope that this shows there is never anything to lose by making something, even if at first it's not great. As the saying goes, a good song is not written, but revised. Even geniuses like Howard Ashman had to revise and revise until he reached something that felt like it reflected Ursula's heart and soul. Creating something that really doesn't work and figuring out what you don't like about it will lead you to creating something that you do like.
You're my only landmark, so I'm lost in the woods, wondering if you still care.
Wait, Lord Kristoff of Arendelle, will you marry me?
You got that right, baby. I'm gonna thrill you in the way you deserve. We're gonna get this right.
Kristoff was absolutely done dirty in Frozen 2, and I have not forgiven them. Get This Right is a sincere yet comedic love song where Kristoff tries to propose to Anna, through which we see his insecurities and how he's afraid he will not be good enough for her. He's never been in love before. He's not a prince who is well versed in courting or manners or fashion, but what he can promise is that he will love Anna with everything that he has. And my favorite part of the song is when Anna joins in, because not only is it such a heartfelt moment, but it's a thematically full circle moment, because when she proposes to Kristoff, she is choosing him, and that resolves the conflict the entire song was about. Kristoff chose Anna, but will Anna choose him? I think the song is amazing. It's very well written, it's very natural too to both of their characters. Like sometimes you have lyricists that get a little too clever and it doesn't feel in character for it to be that clever, but this just feels so authentic and natural, and I think they made a big mistake by cutting it. I'm going to make an entire video in the future about Disney's leading man problem, so subscribe if you're interested for that. But here's a little hint. The modern male characters no longer get to be vulnerable through song anymore, and because of that, they're actually regressing. Flynn barely gets away with it because he has I See the Light. Thank God, because they cut his solo song, and so we almost did not get Flynn Rider singing at all. But when you think about Naveen, Kristoff, and Maui, they never get to sing about their true feelings, and the only time they do get to sing, it's insincere. Naveen never gets to sing about his true feelings for Tiana. All he sings about is how he wants 3 different women on his arm. Kristoff never gets to sing anything other than his reindeer song in Frozen 1, and Maui gets to sing about how he's a complete asshole. So here's my problem. Get This Right has us laughing with Kristoff. We're all in on the joke, but Lost in the Woods has us laughing at Kristoff, like his feelings are something to mock. And if that wasn't bad enough, he is made out to be completely useless, and they just shuffle him away for the rest of the movie. People will say that Frozen isn't supposed to be about Anna and Kristoff's relationship, but then why even have him? What really baffles me is that people treat these characters like they are real, when characters are just meat puppets that we use to convey a story and a theme. If they didn't want to do anything with him, they shouldn't have made him. And since they did, people have a right to criticize the choices of the couple's writing. If you watched the Frozen 2 documentary, you'll know that the themes of this movie are a hot mess, but there is something interesting to investigate when it comes to the idea that Kristoff and Anna both feel out of place. That neither of them were born for the roles that they will receive by the end of the story, with Anna being queen and Kristoff being a prince. The conflict could have been that because of how things are now, Anna and Kristoff feel a need to conform. But the arc could have been that they learn they can succeed through being true to who they are. It is that which will unite everyone at the end of the story. Anna does not need to mimic any other ruler. She is the best ruler she can be as herself. Before they butchered it, the story was supposed to be about Elsa coming into her fully realized self. The voice that Elsa was supposed to be hearing was not her mom, it was supposed to be herself as the Snow Queen, as the spirit. So Kristoff and Anna could have still had a parallel journey where they discovered the same thing about themselves. It's just so frustrating because when it comes to this theme of can I be a good husband or a good father if I never had a father to look up to, even a direct-to-DVD Disney movie did this better. This has nothing to do with the songwriters though. This is more a consequence of Frozen 2's production being a complete shit show. And if you want to hear more about that, I do have an expose up right now about the downfall of the Disney movie musical. But it just goes to show that spectacle over substance will lose every time, and the consequence is that we do not get true warmth or musical sincerity.
Every turn I take, every trail I track, every path I make,
every road leads back to the sea. I am standing at the edge of the sea. There's gotta be more. I know there's more. There's always more. I'm gonna break through and find something new. I'm gonna find more.
More is a previous iteration of Moana's I Want song, and there are some really interesting ideas in this previous version, like how she mentions Maui, how she hears a voice calling her, and then we hear the away, away, and also the involvement of her parents. But I do see why they went back to the drawing board here. More is only 3 minutes long, but as I was listening to it, I felt like they were taking forever to get to the point. In How Far I'll Go, Lynn has a very clear and parallel arc with the structure. The first half of the song is how she longs for the sea, whereas when we get to the I Know Everybody on This Island section, it shows how tired she is of the status quo. How Far I'll Go is like 20% island status quo and 80% dreams, which is what we're interested in, and it always returns to the conflict at hand. But more is like 30% dreams and 70% island status quo, and this is redundant when we would have already seen the status quo in the opening number. The hook around more also just isn't very strong. A title needs to represent the thesis of the song, and in that, the heart and soul of the character. How Far I'll Go is iconic to Moana, whereas every Disney princess wants more. Like, that's the whole point of an I Want song. Imagine how part of your world would be if Ariel went, I want more, there's gotta be more, where the people are, I know there's more, there is always more. Like, that's what this song is to me. Though I wish they had kept Moana mentioning Maui, because that seems really important for the journey the rest of the movie is going to take us on, like idolizing this demigod and then finding out that he's a jerk. I do think that How Far I'll Go is just so much better. If I had to guess what happened, I think that Lin wrote the Every Trail I Track part and then he realized, oh, wait a minute, that's what the song needs to build off of. That is what gives us both the conflict and the dream. Despite how she tries to be normal, every path leads to the sea, that's the conflict. But every path leads to the sea, that's exciting, that's the dream. It's a great example of how sometimes, during the creative process, the thing you created will tell you what to do. I've also experienced this where I'll create an entire song and there's one particular lyric that just speaks to me and I'll go, shit, that's what the conflict is. That's the thesis, like that's the line that you should build the rest of the song around, not what I thought it was gonna be, and I have to throw everything else away and start over. And yeah, it sucks, but it's exciting too, because now you get to create a brand new song with a clear vision of who the character should be.
I won't say it. Get off my case, I won't say it.
Girl, don't be proud. It's okay, you're in love.
I can't believe my heart could be so
I Can't Believe My Heart was supposed to go in the same spot as I Won't Say I'm in Love. And this song is just so genuinely lovely. It has some fantastic lyrics, and I particularly enjoy this phrase.
What I've been taught, I learned the hard way, that life and love are never just. And if you trust, you're just one of the fools.
I find it so satisfying, especially for the rules and fools rhyme that gets set up and paid off. This song also gives us a surprisingly dark characterization of Meg. Like, one of her lyrics is about not seeing a reason that being alive is worth all the suffering until she met Hercules. And it's nuanced because it's not saying, oh, her happiness comes from a man, but that Hercules represents a goodness and light in the world that she thought just didn't exist. Hence, until I met the boy who smiles for free. It's not really about him, it's what he represents with his selflessness, optimism, and kindness. So why did this song get cut? Well, we actually don't have to speculate at all. The writers felt like it didn't suit Meg's character. Even though I appreciate how this song dives deeper into Meg's character compared to I Won't Say I'm in Love, it is a romantic, slow ballad that doesn't really suit her, and it also doesn't tell me that much that I don't already know. Though there are a couple things that I wish that they had worked back in somehow. Meg has already opened up to Hercules at this point in the story. Like, we know she's jaded, we know she's cynical, so the conflict isn't really whether Meg is in love or not, or even the disbelief that she is in love. It's about whether or not she will let herself love someone, and that's an important distinction. I Can't Believe My Heart also has a very predictable structure with line about cynicism, and then Hercules. Like, it just feels a little too familiar, not the surprising yet familiar that Disney is known for. And here's the thing about songs that have no external scene partner. So when you have a character with a really sad-leaning conflict, and it's the character arguing with their other self, it's not like inherently bad or anything. A lot of shows do it, but it can feel very tortured. And that's sort of like On My Own from Les Mis angst isn't as sharp or entertaining as Meg actually arguing with the muses. In addition to not fitting with Meg's personality, there's something else that is important to keep in mind, and that is a musical theater song is a character being entirely vulnerable with the audience. Do you know how in improv they say never say no? A song is like that, and Meg seems like the type of character that would say no before an honest conversation can even start. She would shut down her other self, which means that we're not able to get a song. If Meg will never acknowledge her feelings and she's the only one who knows about them, that shuts down all of the conflict. Her head is gonna win, not her subconscious other self. But with the muses, they can implement different strategies to win the argument against Meg, which is why the song that we got works so well. The conflict here is more engaging. It's Meg asserting, I won't say I'm in love, and then the muses being like, you sure about that, bestie? Like, that sounds like a challenge, right? Now the muses are determined to make her do just that, and this is all a stronger objective for the song. It doesn't matter if you're writing a song or a story or creating art of a character, you may even be doing it right now while you're watching this video. It is a good lesson because everything needs to be in service of the character. And sometimes you get moments or dialogue or songs which are perfectly sweet and clever and heartfelt, but they aren't right for the character or they aren't right for the moment. It doesn't mean the writing is bad, it's just not right. And tinkering it to make it right is worth it. Now that we're at number 5, I want to take this moment to thank all my patrons and YouTube membership members once again, because every time someone joins Patreon or YouTube membership, it means that I get more creative leeway to do whatever I want. For example, after being bedridden for the last couple days sick and losing the opportunity to work on videos, it would have been really easy if I was like, okay, wish video, that'll do well, let's just send something like that out. But because of the patrons and the YouTube members that we have now, every once in a while I'm able to get a little freebie, like a don't worry about this card, and I can put it down and use it to make a video that I really want to make. So if you've enjoyed this video so far and you want me to get more freebies like this, please consider joining them.
For the first time in forever, I could be noticed by someone. And I know it's totally crazy to dream I find romance. And maybe I can't be the perfect one, and maybe I err on the side of fun. But horseshoes need a chance to run somewhere.
This horseshoe is more than just a spare.
More Than Just a Spare was supposed to go where For the First Time in Forever is in Frozen. I'm really torn between these two because even though it's not the most complex, I definitely feel like this song lyrically and musically captures the heart and soul of Anna's character. I feel like Frozen should have at least tried harder to rework this idea instead of trashing it. And that is, Anna was brought up as royalty, so she's not part of the town, but she also wasn't born to be queen, so she's in this in-between state. And to make matters worse, she isn't even around the nobility that she would usually be around because she is cut off from everyone, even her own sister. Some people think the sprinklings of sibling rivalry in this and also Life's Too Short would have made Elsa and Anna less sympathetic, but I think it makes them more sympathetic and more compelling and relatable. Frozen is pretty transparent in its dialogue about reacting to a lot of the bad faith criticism of the Disney princesses, and I feel like that these cut songs are also another case of that. They're not allowed to be bad role models, they aren't allowed to be human beings, they're not allowed to be angry or resentful, just a little clumsy and sad sometimes. Elsa was supposed to be the villain of the movie, and so obviously she got sanitized the most during this process, but I feel like Anna also got hit with it as well. What would have been really cool is that Anna has a lyric saying, someday I'll find my thing, the thing that's all my own, right? Where she belongs. And it would have been so interesting if her thing was being a hero, getting her sister back, almost like a knight. And this would have been so cool for the twist of the movie, because think about it. Anna has this song, More Than Just a Spare, where she talks about Elsa's the heir, Elsa's the queen, I'm just a spare. Hans goes, you don't need to be the spare anymore. You can have all the power you ever wanted. No more being the spare. If we get rid of Elsa, you could be the heir. And then Hans proposes through this like reprise of Love is an Open Door, through a villain song, that they be a villain couple in that moment where Anna is freezing to death in the room. And the implication could have been that if Anna said yes, Hans would love her, and so then she could be free of like Elsa's curse, right? Because love has to break the curse, and so that's how she would live. So Anna briefly like considers this, like you see it on her face, but she realizes that she already found what she is good at, and she is part of something after all, that there is a role for her to play within the family, and that she loves her sister. She is not going to betray her. It would have been so interesting if Hans and Anna have this shared, sad backstory, but ultimately, a difference in ideology. Anna chooses love, which fits in with the themes of the movie, whereas Hans is just left with his hate. And so all of that being said, I'm sure you guys are expecting me to say they shouldn't have cut this. But I do agree with it getting revised, and here's why. This is a really good character song for Anna, and if this was a Broadway show with 25 songs, I would say put it back in, which Frozen on Broadway didn't, and that makes me mad, but anyway. The first chunk of Frozen, the movie, is basically one long opening number. Like, it's a 4-song opening number, you guys, and by the time we get to For the First Time in Forever, we wrap it up while creating a foil between Elsa and Anna. By having them sing this as a duet, it gives us the I want for both of them. It foreshadows the inevitable conflict that is going to happen between the two sisters, and it also fits in thematically with the rest of the movie. More Than Just a Spare works in a story where we magically have more time and Anna and Elsa can have their own separate I Want songs. But in a crunch for time, First Time in Forever just works better and it makes more sense. This is another tragic case of a great song just not fitting in with the story. But here's something to remember. Just because it didn't make the final cut doesn't mean it didn't resonate with people or that it wasn't good. Like I said, a lot of people love this song, they sing this song, they take this song to auditions. The song is still able to live on. Art is about delivering meaning, and this song clearly spoke to people, and I don't think that that's ever a waste.
Then after lunch it's puzzles and darts and baking. Paper mache, a bit of ballet and chess. Pottery and ventriloquy candle making. Then I'll stretch, maybe sketch, take a climb, score dress.
I've got the birds, I've got the butterflies, I've got all kinds of books, I'm talking huge supplies, but there's a zillion steps, so I've got exercise. Come on, what more could I ever need?
One More Could I Ever Need was a previous iteration for Rapunzel's I Want song, When Will My Life Begin? I do have a whole video about this song and another song called Are There Girls in the World Like Me, which was written for an earlier version of Rapunzel. But why did this song get revised? Similar to Moana, the title actually captures what the issue is here. It's too easy for the answer to the question of what more could I ever need to be nothing. I get into this more in that video I mentioned, but the lyrics are really vague, and even though I can tell that they still put in Rapunzel wishing for more, it's just too complacent and kind of boring outside of its occasional use of irony. Rapunzel doesn't articulate what she actually wants, except for the mention of the stars that seem to tug at her. And you may be thinking that it's common sense that Rapunzel wants to leave the tower, but the issue is what for? Fairy tales are allegory. Fairy tales represent our deepest desires and strongest fears. And in this case, leaving the tower is a representation of coming of age. We aren't literally locked in towers in real life, it's about whether or not our parents will let us become adults. That's the trouble with framing an I Want song as a question. It should not be a question of what the character wants. It should be a question of how they are going to get it. We establish what they want early on, but then we dive deep into the emotion of it and the conflict about why they can't have it. In the movie, Rapunzel clearly sings that she wants to see the floating lights. But what is in her way, the conflict, is her mother. Will her mother say yes or not? She is asking herself, when will my life begin? Because tomorrow night, the thing I've always wanted to do is going to happen. Will my mother let me go this time? Is my life going to begin tomorrow? Rapunzel wants to grow up. That's what this entire song is about, and the conflict is whether Mother Gothel will let her or not. All of this endears us to Rapunzel while making her decisive, and that is necessary for the audience to root for her for the rest of the story. Alan Menken and Glenn Slater have also talked about this being the reason in interviews and podcasts that it was just too passive. This may be from the Disney Villain Bible, but it's still an important lesson for how to write heroes. If the story does not make convincing use of the villains, there is no real menace and there is no heart. Conversely, a hero or heroine who is passive, or too timid, or too terrified to talk does nothing to help us understand the aggressor who wants to get rid of these meddling little fools. But victims who are clever, combative, unbending, force the villains to disclose deeper behavior patterns and inner feelings. The less sure Rapunzel is, the less endearing that she is. And if she doesn't have this deep yearning, if she says to herself, I'm happy, what more could I ever need, that makes her conflict with Gothel less compelling. Because Gothel, the bar is like on the floor in order to convince Rapunzel. But if Rapunzel is unyielding and wanting to go outside, Gothel has to pull out all the stops to stop her. To have great light and warmth, you need great darkness. But you don't have that if the hero doesn't even know what they're fighting for. To make a compelling hero, they have to have these great dreams that reflect our own inner yearnings and desires. And they need to be direct and willing to fight for them.
I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a great warm welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face. And the voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be. Sometimes I just stare into the heavens, wondering if the answer is inside. That's when I see the light of my steadfast shooting star, on his way to who knows where. He's so unlike all the stars that he outshines up there.
Before Go the Distance, Shooting Star was Hercules' I Want song. It is beautiful with this fantastic imagery and allegory where Hercules compares himself to a shooting star, noticeably out of place compared to the rest of the stars that stand still in the night, but purposeful, outshining the rest as the shooting star flies across the twilight sky. And what makes it even more lovely is the orchestration. Even though this is just a draft, it already has this beautiful string section combined with the woodwind instruments, and we have this idea of floating away, of freedom, like truly a shooting star flying across the sky through music. It makes Hercules feel so youthful while alluding to something greater in the heavens. So why in the world would they cut such a beautiful song? Well, Alan Menken says that Shooting Star gave Hercules the longing in his heart. It was very intimate, very sensitive. But that it was making the character land too softly, and that they wanted to emphasize the drive of his journey and the muscularity of his journey. Now listen, who am I to disagree with Alan Menken's musical explanation that he changed the composition to have more drive with the instruments? He added some hunting horns and these drums, like you have this going in a battle and the gods are actually calling you. I see where he's coming from. I think he's right. It's whoever they was on the creative team that is not right. I just can't condone the language of the creative team on principle. What the fuck does muscularity even mean? What does muscularity have to do with musical theater? I think that they were dancing around it, and what they really wanted to say to Alan Menken was that the song was too feminine. I will bring this up in the Disney Leading Man video, but it seems like that Disney had some sort of sudden panic, and they were like, wait a minute, what about the male demographic? The male demographic, mind you, who did go to see The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, etc., which have men singing. Even going back as far as Snow White and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, the princes were soft and muscular. Philip can sing and he can kill a dragon, so I don't understand what they were thinking, but apparently wistfully wishing for things is for girls. We need muscularity. So even though I think Go the Distance does have this sort of intangible X factor, I just can't bring myself to agree with them cutting the song for that reason, because the reason is stupid. Riddle me this, why not have the vulnerable I Want song now? And then when Hercules meets Zeus, they could have had the more muscular, heroic, I will please the gods, I can go the distance song. Like imagine if the last lyric had the sentiment of take my place among the stars, instead of the find where I belong sentiment in that sort of context. The whole movie leads to a star is born, and so for the sake of the thematic through line, why didn't they keep this in? We could have had it all, and I don't understand.
There's someone I'm dying to introduce you to.
Jafar, get your hands off her!
Prince Ali, yes, it is he, but not as you know him. Read my lips and come to grips with reality.
From now on, it's as you were time. Let's have your pretty princess see how she's been wasting her time.
Take everything you gave him, all the magic stuff away. Leave him dirty, poor and penniless. But sir, do as I say.
Ali, Jasmine, I tried to tell you.
Magic carpet just can't hold a candle to a flying tower. My finest hour!
So Jafar has a ridiculous number of cut songs, and if we went through them all, we would be here all day. So for today, we are just going to lump Why Me, Humiliate the Boy, which has 2 different versions, and My Finest Hour together, but I do plan in the future to make a more direct comparison video like I did for the Rapunzel songs. So why did everything get cut in favor of the Prince Ali reprise? The wiki cites pacing issues, but there's a much bigger problem with all of these songs. And it's not just these cut songs, even the ones that are currently on Broadway for Jafar are stupid. None of them capture who he is at all. That's the real problem. Jafar is an old man. He's not theatrical in the same way that Ursula is. And even though a lot of the adaptions of Jafar portray him as crazy, the entire point is that he is the straight man and Iago is the funny man. With all of these deleted songs, you'd expect Jafar to break out into a kick line, and the worst part is on Broadway, he actually does. You are not Preminger, and Disney's Broadway adaptations have a really bad habit of just making their villains way too zany. Like, I know that they have to play it up for the people in the back, but Ursula's portrayal in The Little Mermaid is like particularly terrible and egregious, where she's just like full-on comedy, and I kind of think that's because of the actress that they wrote the part around, like who they had in mind for the casting, but it's no excuse. When the villains go to Broadway, they lose all of their darkness. Except for Gaston, he's alright. The other problem is your villain is only as compelling as your hero, and the real issue with Jafar just breaking out in a song is that his songs are about his beef with the Sultan, and this makes Jafar look really weak because you're telling me that he can't kill this little old man? Compare Jafar to a character like Scar. Scar needs the outside help, it's understandable. But if the motivation for Jafar is getting rid of the Sultan, he could have just killed the Sultan and pinned it on Aladdin and Jasmine. Like, Jasmine ran away from home, she's found with Aladdin, just pin it on him. It would have been the perfect time to do it. You would have to refocus the conflict to be about Jafar wanting magic and becoming a Sultan being just one of the many things he would do with the magic. But I still feel like this is weak because it's not like anyone else has magic. It would be different if, for example, the Sultan had like Sultan-given magic and it was down the family line, and so he was jealous of the Sultan for having this magic that the common people don't have. Like, something like that could have been interesting, but like, no one else has magic, no one's withholding the magic from you. Who are you arguing with? And like, why are you sort of going, why me? I was so underappreciated compared to everybody else, when like, that would have been on you, dude. It's not because you don't have magic, it's just because you suck, I guess. Anyway, we can workshop all of that another time. My point is, you would have to rewrite the movie entirely for this to make sense, whereas Prince Ali Reprise works because Jafar has been bottling up his emotions the entire time, and now that he's finally won, he can let his true colors show. He can throw Aladdin's own lies back in his face, and it's satisfying. I can't see Jafar breaking out in a song for the sake of pity like these cut songs go for. It just makes him look too weak. It makes more sense for him to literally burst open right now, not only because he has exposed Aladdin as a fraud and because he has the lamp, but because this is the first time he's actually happy. Sometimes a villain does not need their own song. It's actually more sinister to take an already existing hero song and have the villain make it their own. That's the type of darkness in contrast to the hero's light that we need.
It's clear from your vacant expressions, the lights are not all on upstairs.
But we are talking kings and successions.
Even you can't be caught unawares. Thanks to me, it was goodbye Mufasa. Thanks to me, little Simba's gone wrong. For the word from the bride has to be, thanks to me.
Thanks to Me is an earlier version of Be Prepared. A lot of the lyrics are the same, but during the chorus we get this disco sound that is way too upbeat. And the other difference is that here we have the implication that the song would have happened after killing Mufasa. It sounds like in this version that Scar raised Simba to be an asshole, like kind of thing, I don't know, Cusco, where you have that spoiled prince archetype. The other difference is Scar sings about wanting to belong. He wants people to care about him, and that seems to be his main motivation. I don't think it was supposed to be a sympathetic thing. I think it was more supposed to be like he's literally mad, like he's crazy. And that's not really my favorite choice. The reason why I love Scar so much is because he's ruthless. And obviously there was another cut song like The Madness of King Scar or whatever after Mufasa's death. And you also have that idea of, oh, Scar wants to be loved, he wants to have a queen. But I really hate that trope, and I think it just, I don't know, like it makes a mockery of his character instead of just letting him be dark. Like, why does he have to be crazy? Why can't he just be cunning and murderous? Can we talk about this for a second? Why is there such a prevalence in this trope that you have a gay-coded villain just kind of suddenly lust after the female lead that it is implied they have known since they were a child? Obviously with Scar they ended up cutting it, but they were going to do it, and in the Lion King Broadway musical they still do it. I would much prefer the angle of I don't actually feel anything for you, you're just a means to an end. And that's even how like Jafar comes off at the first half of Aladdin, but then in the second half of Aladdin, he just like completely switches into a different character. Like, why are we doing this? Why do Preminger, Jafar, and Scar have like this reveal of being a weirdo instead of just being cunning, murderous traitors? Like with Frollo, the attraction to Esmeralda is for a story purpose. It's something that the narrative reflects on and it fits in with the themes. But I don't really get how, again, Preminger, Jafar, or Scar, like what does that do for the story other than make us go, oh my god, they're so evil? Like, we already knew that already. They want to kill people. Anyway, I think the reason why Thanks to Me ultimately got the axe and was repurposed into Be Prepared is because it doesn't have that same evil momentum and drive as Be Prepared does. Be Prepared is building towards something to happen, not just singing about something that already happened in the past. And so it's a really weird placement, like, for the villain song to be like, oh, by the way, I killed Mufasa, and just kind of like, park and roar as opposed to a park and bark, I guess, where like the villain is just singing about his feelings. Like, this is gathering a plan. This is building anticipation. I don't want the villain singing about what they've already done in their like disco-coded feelings about it. I want to see the build-up and have that conflict of, okay, but will Scar's plan actually succeed or not? Will he kill Mufasa? Will Mufasa escape? Will Mufasa find out that Scar is evil, right? There's just more tension in that. This version just feels very conflictless and weird. Like, other than making Scar feel a bit too sympathetic, like he's like, I just want someone to care, I think that Be Prepared is just a stronger villainous song with a stronger evil hook. I think that sometimes Disney gets too caught up in, oh, but a villain song should be fun, because that's what Gaston and Ursula did, forgetting that there is still darkness in those songs, but it's a different type of darkness. It's a darkness that suits the character it belongs to. And so Thanks to Me just doesn't suit Scar at all. And so we need different types of villain songs to suit different types of villains.
Arendelles in deep, 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 deep snow.
What? You kind of set off an eternal winter? Everywhere. Everywhere. That's okay, you can just unfreeze it.
And your plan to force me back in a cage. Oh, whoa, don't get upset, let's get back on the same page. Gee, thanks for coming up to see the place and showing off your mastery of tact and grace. Okay, run down the hill and spill my secrets. Make a full report. Bye, cause life's too short, is the door you love to slam in my face.
Speaking of variety being the spice of life, it's funny how Frozen was determined that we wouldn't have any. I wonder if the reason why they released so many deleted songs for Frozen 2 and Frozen in comparison to, say, Tangled, is because Disney finally realized that they technically paid for the songwriters to do all this work, and by throwing out 27 different songs, you're actually wasting money. Like, they wanted some sort of return on them no matter how small, and so they started releasing them as bonus features. And that's how we found out about the Frozen We Never Had and Life's Too Short, which would have gone in the same place as the First Time in Forever Reprise. This song starts out as a heartfelt duet with Anna and Elsa reconciling, but it quickly turns into an argument song. I really love the composition of this song, and I stay up all night thinking about what the orchestration would have been if we had gotten it, and the lyrics are really biting too, like, there it is, the door you love to slam in my face, like, it's just so good. Like, holy shit, bro. They are actually arguing realistically like sisters would. But what's so nice about this song is I feel like you can have empathy for both of them. Like, neither one of them feel like more whiny or unjustified in their pain than the other. They are on equal footing. It is an equal conflict. We have never gotten a Disney song like this before, and it makes me so mad. So why was it cut? First Time in Forever Reprise technically fits into the story better, because if First Time in Forever is our, like, I Want song, present day character introduction opening number hybrid song that helps to reinforce the themes of the story alluded to in Frozen Heart, it thematically tracks for the conflict-filled Reprise to pull from that instead of creating a whole new number. We just talked about Prince Ali Reprise, for example. It's that exact same idea with the technical functionality of that choice here. It is stronger thematically, but I don't think that that's the full explanation, and so I'm not satisfied by that. Like, I don't think it was just a storytelling choice. I think it was a corporate choice. I think it was a merch line choice, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we have to sanitize the Disney princesses. They need to be good role models. We're going to get flamed by parents if we show two sisters arguing with each other. We're going to encourage kids to yell at their siblings. But it just sucks because Life's Too Short is a much deeper insight into Anna and Elsa's characters and their frayed relationship, compared to Anna being like clueless and naive and just being like it's okay, you can just unfreeze it. And I'm not saying that like that's not in character for her, because that's the character that they wrote, but I feel like that they wrote Anna in a way to be like, see, we made sure that our princess doesn't just throw herself on something and cry. She's optimistic. She thinks that they can just unfreeze the storm. That's a good thing, right? That we don't make our princesses emotional anymore? But the reason we go to musical theater is for what it says about the human experience. And by making Anna this shallow, she reveals nothing to us in terms of using her to dive into our fears and desires when it comes to our own families. I also want to throw this out there, but take it with a grain of salt, because I can't, like, prove it beyond a reasonable doubt or whatever, you know what I mean? But the word on the street was that Disney wanted their own Wicked. They even tried to get Kristen Chenoweth, the original Glinda, to play Anna, and of course Idina Menzel plays Elsa and Elphaba. I also found this piece of concept art for when Frozen was the Snow Queen, and it is very similar to the Wicked poster. In the Downfall of the Disney Movie musical video I made, I talk about Steven Schwartz beefing with Disney on multiple occasions. And I think it's hilarious how, like, Disney tossed this man aside twice. Once because of Prince of Egypt, and then once during Tangled's development too, and then they went on to try to copy him without understanding why people love Wicked so much. Elphaba and Glinda's friendship is messy. Neither of them are without their flaws, but they still love each other very much. Not only did they backtrack from making Elsa a villain in early development, but then they also backtracked from giving Anna a more complex character. And it's interesting because the more that I think about it, I said this in another video, I said, why didn't they make Anna more like people-pleasing, more a social butterfly who feels like that she needs to be perfect at everything? Social etiquette, she needs to be perfect in her interactions with people, she always needs to make people laugh, like the ultimate people-pleaser because of how she has been locked out all her life. I'm like, wait a minute, that would have been a lot like Glinda, like understanding what makes someone popular and trying to emulate it to, you know, combat the loneliness. And so I'm kind of convinced that like this was supposed to be Anna's character, but then they made her, ooh, so quirky instead. Anyway, I think it's a shame because we hardly ever get a musical theater duet between two women that is not about a man. And before Frozen, I don't think that two Disney female leads have ever sung together. Like in an ensemble song, there may be multiple women singing, but I mean like a one-on-one kind of moment. Other than Frozen, can you guys let me know if you can think of an exception? Because I'm talking about the Disney animated movies, not the direct-to-DVD sequels or anything like that. Before Frozen, did two women even ever sing together one-on-one? So the lesson here, give us conflict. Stop trying to shy away from things that, oh, this could make the character look bad, because it's boring and it makes the audience feel like that you think that we're too stupid to see any nuance in a situation or have any empathy for a character. And like if they lash out for a moment, we'll just suddenly turn on them forever. That's ridiculous. If you want to be wicked, you're gonna have to put in the work to be wicked, and Disney has not been putting in the work to be wicked. If you want to hear more tea about what's going on with the Disney animated movie musicals, please check out the expose that I made. After you watch it, you'll understand how much corporate meddling has been going on behind the scenes, and it's not just an, oh, capitalism type situation. The songwriters and how they're treated has been getting more and more dubious as the years have passed on, and that is directly impacting the stories that we are getting. Also, let me know if you want me to do a full-length video on any of these songs, breaking down the lyrics and the instrumentation. What song out of this list is your favorite? And also, if you would like a similar list for songs that were like just cut, you know, like Proud of Your Boy and songs like that, the ones that never made it in. These are revised. But what about the ones that never made it in the first place? This has been Calxiyn caring way too much, and I hope that you care too. I'll see you next time. Bye!